I don't know how you arrived here today, but something inside you is tired in a way that sleep has not been able to fix. And maybe you pressed play because you needed silence more than answers and rest more than explanations. Pay attention to this, because sometimes God speaks not when life gets louder, but when everything finally slows down enough for you to notice the weight you've been carrying without even realizing it. Maybe you are still moving forward, still showing up, still doing what faith requires. But deep down there is a quiet question echoing in your heart, asking how long you can keep walking with so many stones under your feet. There are moments in life when the road itself doesn't look wrong, but something along the way keeps interrupting your steps. Something small enough to be ignored, yet heavy enough to make every step feel harder than it should. You may call it fatigue, disappointment, frustration, or simply another difficult season. But what you are really feeling is the accumulation of obstacles that were never meant to stop you, yet somehow ended up slowing your soul. Let me tell you something, because this matters more than you think. Not every stone in your path was placed there to make you fall, even though that is how it feels when you first hit it. Most of us were taught to believe that faith removes obstacles, but no one prepared us for the moments when faith asks us to walk carefully instead of asking God to clear the road. Maybe that's why you feel confused. Because you prayed for God to remove the difficulty, and instead He allowed you to keep walking with it still there. That can feel unfair, especially when you are already tired, already questioning your strength, already wondering if you are behind spiritually compared to where you thought you would be by now. Pay attention to how often you interpret resistance as failure, when in reality it might be formation happening quietly beneath your awareness. There are stones that appear because of decisions you made, stones left behind by other people's choices, and stones that exist simply because life is not gentle all the time. And yet, here you are, still walking, still breathing, still holding on to faith, even if your grip feels weaker than it used to. This is where many people give up, not because they stop believing in God, but because they stop believing that the journey still makes sense. Maybe you've told yourself that if God really cared, the path would be smoother by now, or at least more predictable, or less exhausting. But what if the stone you keep tripping over is not a sign of abandonment, but an invitation to see the path differently? Think about how often in life something that looks out of place actually carries a purpose you cannot see until time slows you down enough to notice it. Sometimes the interruption is not there to block you, but to change the way you move forward, forcing you to become more attentive, more grounded, more aware of each step. That kind of growth is uncomfortable because it removes the illusion that progress is always fast and visible. Let me say this gently, because this may hurt a little, but it's necessary. The problem is not always the stone, but the pace at which you are trying to walk through a season that requires patience. You may be trying to rush through something God is using to shape your character quietly, without applause, without shortcuts, without dramatic breakthroughs. And I know that can be frustrating, because you want relief, not refinement, resolution, not process. But process is where faith stops being an idea and starts becoming something lived, something tested, something real. Pay attention to how often your soul feels heavy, not because you lack faith, but because you are carrying expectations that God never asked you to hold. Maybe the stone in your path is revealing how much pressure you've placed on yourself to arrive somewhere instead of learning how to walk where you are. There is a difference between moving forward and forcing progress, and most of our spiritual exhaustion comes from confusing the two. You are not weak for feeling tired, and you are not failing because the journey feels harder than you expected. What you are experiencing is the slow, quiet work of perseverance, the kind that doesn't look impressive but builds something deep inside you. And this is important, because perseverance is not formed in moments of ease, but in the daily choice to keep walking, even when the ground feels uneven. Maybe today God is not asking you to remove the stone, step over it perfectly, or pretend it doesn't bother you. Maybe He is simply inviting you to notice it, to slow down, and to trust that even what feels misplaced can still serve a purpose in your journey. Stay here for a moment, breathe, and allow yourself to sit with this thought without trying to resolve it too quickly. Because sometimes the greatest transformation doesn't begin with answers, but with the courage to remain present in the process. As you keep walking with me through this thought, I want you to notice how your heart reacts when you realize that God often works not by removing the difficulty, but by teaching you how to live faithfully while it remains. Maybe what has been exhausting you is not the stone itself, but the constant inner resistance to the idea that growth sometimes happens slower than your desire for relief. Let me tell you something gently, because this matters. Perseverance is not about enduring pain with clenched teeth, but about allowing God to reshape your inner posture while you walk through what you cannot control. There are people who assume that maturity looks like strength without struggle, when in reality it often looks like faith that keeps choosing obedience, even when the outcome is unclear. Think about how many times you judged your progress by how smooth things felt, instead of by how much your heart was being formed in patience, humility, and trust. Sometimes the stone in the path becomes a place where you stop long enough to realize how much you were rushing, how much you were carrying, and how little space you were giving God to work quietly within you. This may sound uncomfortable, but it is necessary. God is often more interested in who you are becoming than in how quickly you arrive where you think you should be. And that can confront you, because part of you wants proof that this season is worth it, that the delay has meaning, that the struggle is not wasted. What if the meaning is not hidden at the end of the road, but being formed in you step by step as you learn to walk with less pressure and more awareness of God's presence? The scriptures remind us that perseverance shapes character, and character slowly gives birth to hope, not the loud kind, but the quiet kind that sustains you when nothing else does. That hope does not erase the stones, but it changes the way you step on them, teaching you balance instead of fear, and trust instead of frustration. Maybe today God is inviting you to stop interpreting every difficulty as a setback and begin seeing it as part of a deeper formation, happening beneath the surface. There are moments when faith feels ordinary, repetitive, and unimpressive. Yet those are often the moments when it is becoming most real. You might feel behind, like others are moving faster, growing quicker, celebrating breakthroughs while you are still learning how to stand on uneven ground. But comparison has a way of stealing peace without offering truth, because God never measures your journey against someone else's pace. Your path is personal, your stones are specific, and your growth is happening in ways you may only recognize later. Let me ask you something. What if the very thing you wish God would remove is also the thing teaching you how to depend on Him more deeply? Dependence does not feel powerful, but it is where real trust is born. The kind that does not collapse when circumstances stay unresolved. This is where surrender becomes necessary. Not surrender as giving up, but surrender as releasing control over how and when things must change. Right now, take a moment to breathe slowly and allow your heart to soften around the idea that God is not disappointed with your pace. He is not rushing you, comparing you, or measuring you by how quickly you overcome obstacles. He is walking with you, patiently, attentively, shaping your inner life while you navigate the path in front of you. And in this moment, you can choose to stop fighting the process and begin trusting that even the stones can serve a purpose you do not yet fully see. Let this be a moment of quiet prayer, where you simply offer God your weariness without trying to fix it or explain it. God, you see the places where the road feels hard, where progress feels slow, and where the weight of perseverance feels heavier than expected. Teach us to walk without rushing, to trust without demanding immediate answers, and to believe that you are at work even when the path remains uneven. Give rest to tired hearts, clarity to confused minds, and gentle strength to those who feel close to giving up. If you want to remain in this atmosphere a little longer, I left a devotional reading in the description that can help you continue this reflection quietly as we finish. May peace settle over you, may your steps feel lighter, and may you remember that you are not walking alone. If this message spoke to you, share it with someone who is tired, burdened, or struggling to keep going in faith. And if you want to keep walking through these daily moments of reflection with me, stay connected here, and may God bless you with perseverance, hope, and quiet renewal.